Hello, everybody. As always, thank you for watching. It is the 28th day of April, 2022. And a lot of things going on. But before we get to what's actually happening now, a reminder of what happened then. Well, why isn't it letting me play? There we go. Sorry about the delay. It was an inside job all along, the whole time. Let me run it back and play it one more time. Make sure, sorry, let me get the volume up to max. Someone is talking on a walkie-talkie with someone inside. They're saying, we've extracted all the police, the building's yours. The building's yours, there's no one left inside. We have a building. Right here. No! There was fraud. There's nobody else inside. We just extracted. This is the cops. The building's yours. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to shrink it down so you can see the closed captioning. Again, this was Unicorn Riot put this out a couple of years ago. We've known it was an inside job. Just a reminder to those that don't watch the show. Just something to think about. Again, hello, thank you for watching. We're going to play that again at the end as well. So just joining, thank you for watching, as I said. And this is, we connect the dots on this. It's news done differently in that your normal newscasts are basically like this. Someone commenting on stories that they're showing to you, and that's pretty much what we do here. The only difference is there are occasions where we have actual live shows where you can ask questions and discuss some things. And I'm going to be doing that tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Friday night. I know Friday nights, a lot of people go out, a lot of people do things. For those of you that aren't going to be going out, we'll be on at 10 o'clock live with some news and some talks. So let me see where we at here. Why am I not getting, there we go. Why am I not getting my right screen up? Okay. I see what we've done here. And yeah, I think we've got it here. Let's try it. There we go. Last night's episode, I talked about solar weather, and I talked a little bit about earthquakes and potential eruption, major eruption of Krakatoa. And I had some questions specifically about what's going on in Yellowstone, and some questions about, can you explain a little bit more about the solar weather stuff? So This is from National Geographic.
Electromagnetism, or the
and basically this is going to explain in just a couple of minutes what surrounds our planet and protects it. We're literally going global to begin the show, and then we're going to narrow down, going from macro to micro.
electromagnetic force is one of the four fundamental forces of nature. It generates light and energy and holds atoms, matter, and the world as we know it together. Electromagnetism is a branch of physics that studies the interactions between electric and magnetic fields. All matter has an electric charge, which can be positive, negative, or zero. Opposite charges attract, while like charges repel.
Just if you've ever used magnets, if the magnets are both positive, they'll push off of each other. If they're both negative, they'll push off of each other, but the negative and the positive will connect and connect strongly.
These electric forces bring and hold atoms together. And when atoms gain a positive or negative charge through the transfer of electrons, a measurable electric field will form. If those electrically charged particles start to move, the field will become a flowing electric current and form a magnetic field around it. Under the right circumstances, interacting electric and magnetic fields can continuously produce and sustain one another. This generates an electromagnetic field that transmits waves of electromagnetic energy or radiation into space. The intensity of this radiation is determined by its frequency. These frequencies make up what's known as the electromagnetic spectrum. Near the middle of the spectrum is visible light, such as light emitted by stars, fireflies, and computer screens. On either side are invisible electromagnetic waves. On one end are long, low-frequency radio waves that broadcast television and radio signals, microwaves that carry telephone signals and cook food, and infrared waves emitted by fires. On the other are short, high-frequency wavelengths, ultraviolet, X, and gamma radiation. Unlike low-frequency waves, these waves can pass through the human body, making them useful for medical applications.
Also making them damaging if you have overexposure.
While electromagnetism has daily applications, it's also the engine that drives the planet as a whole. Thousands of miles below the Earth's surface, a layer of liquid metals churn and flow. This generates electric currents that then produce magnetic fields that all together encompass the entire planet. Called a geodynamo, this process causes Earth's poles to attain positive and negative charges, turning the planet into a giant electromagnet. This phenomenon also creates a protective layer around the planet. It shields us from the most harmful radiation in space, leaving us to enjoy a world held together by the strange and fundamental force of electromagnetism.
So when last night's episode, when we talked about cracks in our electromagnetic field and the potential harm that does, I hope this helped to explain it. When we get cracks in our electromagnetic field and we allow too much high intensity solar radiation in, it becomes potentially damaging. First to satellites, and then, if something mega happens, then, it's the end of the world as we know it. Here's another just a couple of minutes about what we talked about with Hal last night. You can go back and watch last night's episode. I suggest you do. I suggest you, binge watch the entire series at some point. There are a couple of bad episodes, but those are forgotten.
2024, solar flares may become common, and even the terrifying G5 class solar storms may be a possibility. However, There is one way to escape the tumultuous solar event. Sunspots can be found all over the sun. However, if the solar disk facing the Earth contains fewer or weaker sunspots, the Earth may not be able to feel the full brunt of the sun's anger. What do you guys think? Before we begin today's video, here is a quick preview of the top science news.
Okay, I should have run that back. My apologies. Actually, apologize for forgetting to run that back. Give me just a second. Okay, let's try that again.
Habitable. But every good thing comes with an asterisk mark. Multiple solar storms, triggered by the sun, have hit Earth in the recent weeks. What has caused the rapid increase in the frequency and intensity of solar activity?
Let me back this up just a couple of seconds here.
Multiple solar storms, triggered by the sun, have hit Earth in the recent weeks.
Okay, this video is from yesterday. So when it says recent week, it means our not too distant past. What you see here, this is basically the protection we have from our electromagnetic shield, the fields of electromagnetism that circulate, or rather ellipse, around Earth. And you can see how it prevents much of the incredibly damaging rays that could come through. And you can see why, if there are small cracks, it's a concern. As long as there's not a major fracture and a permanent fracture, then whatever damage we experience in the next weeks or so will be, will be minimal.
What has caused the rapid increase in the frequency and intensity of solar activity? Is this trend likely to continue? Nearly every day of the previous week, US agencies, NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, issued warnings about solar storms striking Earth. This wasn't a one-week event either. Solar storms, also known as geomagnetic storms, have become more common in recent months. Due to a violent solar storm in February, SpaceX lost 40 Starlink satellites. In the month of April, we saw at least 3 separate occasions where solar activity caused radio blackouts in various parts of the world. Not only is this development alarming, but there is also the larger question of whether the sun's wrath will worsen in the future. Solar cycles help us to understand a lot of the current high levels of solar activity. A solar cycle, also known as a solar magnetic activity cycle.
Okay, we talked about that last night. So, nothing to panic about. At the same time, could potentially disrupt electronics, and probably on a small scale. It'll be just depending on where the Earth's at. If a major blast of cosmic plasma. And Mary Greeley is somebody that I respect as far as what's going on in Yellowstone. She lives there. She monitors it on a daily basis. And I'm going to play it. We're not going to listen to the whole thing here, but those that wanted to know about Yellowstone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. Thank you for joining me. Boy, Beehive was really shooting off a moment ago. There's some people there that.
This is Beehive, one of the geysers.
And then actually moved away because it's so windy there. It was carrying the water all the way over
Old Faithful
to where they were at. This is the live webcam from the Old Faithful camera there at Yellowstone National Park. All right, so let's start it out with the most recent earthquake of the 5 earthquakes that they are reporting today at Yellowstone. Today is April 27th, 2022, Wednesday. And you'll see the red dot here. This is supposedly near Hedgen Lake. They're saying it was a magnitude 0.0. Right. Here we have on the left the borehole for the Madison River area. This here is the regular monitor for Maple Creek. And on the far right is Lake Butte. This is the earthquake as it showed up at Maple Creek. I think they're off on the location of the earthquake. And this is the borehole. Right there's the signature. I don't want to make this one bigger because they are so off in the size of the earthquake. It was actually a magnitude 2.07. Someone got carried away and hitting the zeros. Not a 0.0. Yeah, there's the seismic signature, and there's the spectrogram. And now it probably shook for a few seconds. You can see all the gases that came up. But that is the most recent earthquake. It's currently 1:02 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
That was yesterday.
And we got another one right here marked in red at 11:01 in 50 seconds, probably about universal time. Here's the spectrogram, and let's go to its seismic signature right there. USBS, I'm sorry,
I forget if she talks about it or not, but there are three different basic types of seismic signature. There's tectonic, which means the ground moving against the ground. There's harmonic, and the harmonics are tonal and are generally magma induced, flowing magma.
USGS says it is a magnitude 0.9. 6.5 miles in depth. Yeah, I changed the depth. This 0.0 was 7 miles. Everything's measured from sea level. 0.9, but it's actually, let me pull it down so you can see it. It's actually a magnitude 2.19.
So either somebody's making mistakes at the University of Utah, or they're not letting the word get out that there are actually 2.0, 2.07 earthquakes happening in clusters around a potentially weak area of the Yellowstone caldera.
Yeah, and then there's that other one. I don't know who they got working there. Let's see, we got a lot of little ones up farther up, marked in red. Looks like we had blobs of magma coming into the system. Let's look at the spectrogram. Yeah, look at all this activity earlier. And we'll just come down because I want to go to the other monitors and show you all that. Let's extract that. Yeah, harmonic tremors, or actually volcanic tremors. Yeah, that's what we've got here. Remember, sometimes they're tectonic.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Harmonic. Yeah, let's look at that one. Yeah, volcanic tremors. For those of you that have been following me over the years, you remember that the Madison River area, which is these two monitors here in the center and on the left, is where the last major eruption started before it did an unzipping. And I think of the zipper. You pull it down, it opens up. Multiple eruptions occurred in a counterclockwise rotation, starting up over here where we got these two little dots. And then when it got down to, right close to here, right there at Heart Lake, at Yellowstone Lake, which is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome, and then the Sour Creek Resurgent Dome, which would be up in this direction.
Resurgent Dome is an area that has been blown out previously from volcanic activity, in this case, about 200,000 years ago. And it is the ground rises as the pressure builds back up underneath it once again. So it's like the volcano erupted 200,000 years ago, let off all of its power, its magma, its gases, and has since covered back up, if you will. And underneath it, the magma flows and continues to flow to build it back up. It kind of to re-energize that that singular volcanic system, in this case, a super volcanic system.
Collapsed at the same time. When that collapse occurred, that's when the whole caldera blew, and it blew out the mountains. That's why if you look at the mountains here, see how they're kind of just abruptly ending over here? Yeah, it just blew it all out, this whole area. So if you're looking at the live web camera, this hill or mountain behind the live webcam, that is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome.
Resurgent dome. So it was at one time flat, like the area we're seeing here in the front of the picture, but the magma has built back up underneath it so that the ground is rising again, and rising at a significant level.
And it's been growing for about, probably the last, I want to say 6,000 years. That's how long Yellowstone's been recharging, at least for 6,000 years. On the monitor for Lake Butte, there's only one marked in red. That's it right there at 9:59 and 30 seconds about. Oh, and good timing. Old tape was going off. So we'll watch it for a few seconds. Yeah, first we had Beehive going off, and now we got Yellowstone, Old Faithful, going off. A few people there, not a lot. All right, so let's go back to this earthquake that occurred at 9:59 and 30 seconds. And they have it listed as a 0.4. Shall we take bets? Okay, it's along the area where that crack is down below in the center of the lake. There's Frank Island.
By the way, there's a crack in the bottom of Yellowstone Lake. Not widely known. Okay, they said it was a 0.3. It's a 1.73.
That actually comes in as a magnitude 1.73. And you can see I really shortened up where I would read the seismic signature from. This is a monitor from Lake Butte, which is on the eastern side of Yellowstone Lake. And then going to Google Maps, here is the Lake Butte monitor. This is Yellowstone Lake. I try to draw about the area where the crack is at. And we'll go to the coordinates where they say that earthquake occurred. And there's Frank Island.
I've written a book about the volcano under Yellowstone called Yellowstone, the Second Coming of Christ. So I studied a lot about all this before I wrote that book. And one of the precursors to an eruption will be the water temperatures heating up. Unusual. I mean, there are 1,500 earthquakes generally every year around the Yellowstone region. Most of them so insignificant that they can't be felt. And my hope is that Utah University is not just reporting that all of these are zeros and not even checking, because they're coming in about 127 a day now, and we'll keep monitoring that. And now with the rest of the news real fast, Madison Cawthorn can't get out of his own way. Don't forget I told you that
happened. So
don't forget that I told you the Republican Party are actively working to get him out. And don't be surprised if he doesn't withdraw from the election and spend more time with his family.
Flying home from DC back home to Western North Carolina. Early voting starts tomorrow. Super excited about it. But really good news. Just went through TSA. No major alarms. Nothing bad happened. So to all law enforcement out there, especially together, Charlotte, I love you all. Appreciate you guys. You all keep us safe. Seriously. Thanks. Fly.
So basically, he's bragging about getting through security safely. And then he's bragging about cops not ever arresting him for trying to get through security unsafely. And he thinks it's a joke, he thinks this is, but this is just, this is one of those situations where it would have been much better had he not done this for his own public relations, because these pictures are coming out. They're from the Daily Mail over in United Kingdom at the moment, but there is video. These are stills taken from the video. Madison Cawthorn seen with male staff members' hand on his crotch. This one is they're holding hands. And again, these are being leaked by Republican people to get this guy out. Bird flu. Someone reminded me today that, maybe you should tell people how serious this really is, because I just kind of touch on it, that, okay, in China, there's the first case of human bird flu, first case of American bird flu today too. And I'll get to that in just a minute, but so far 31.36 million chickens have been culled. They've been killed. 5.6 million were killed in one time. And in one of the most inhumane ways possible, they were set on fire and burned to death. And then the people that actually did that were ordered to do that to those birds were then immediately fired, because there wasn't going to be any more work. They're not going to replace those birds, okay? We'll have to see if that is something that continues on. Is Purdue one of the big producers of meat? Are they laying people off? Are poultry producers firing their staffs after destroying the animals and not replenishing them? If so, that's major, folks. 18 facilities to date have been destroyed. Supply chain cargo ships backed up in China and off the coast of the USA. There's hyperinflation going on. I went and bought chocolate milk at Kroger 3 weeks ago, and it was $2.89 a gallon. And I went yesterday and it's $4.19 a gallon. Food shortages, bird flu, pandemic. Are they all by design, was the question asked. Fertilizer shortages, widespread bird flu outbreaks, mysterious food processing plant fires. They're all just a coincidence. I don't know, something that we have to definitely consider. Colorado announced it detected a case of H5N1 in a person who's working on a farm with infected birds. However, health officials say repeat testing shows the person was negative for the flu, okay? And it's possible the virus was present in the person's nose and it did not infect him. So that's good news and bad news. It's good news that the dude didn't get infected. It's bad news it was found in his nose, because it's probably going to be in others' noses, and our hope is that it doesn't become transmissible human to human, because it is much more deadly than the COVID strains. Moscow is preparing for a victory parade. And their victory parade is going to be May the 9th. This is a dress rehearsal for that. So their plans are to have everything ended by May 9th, which is 10 days away from now, 11 days away from now. And they start the parade off with their nuclear weapons. Now, me personally, if I was married to somebody in the Russian army that was fighting in Ukraine, I'd be going, WTF, you know, my husband is dying and you're practicing a parade with equipment that could be used to save my husband's life. Actually, let me blow this up right here so that everybody can get a good look at this equipment, especially those of you that are into finding out what the enemy is up to. Long-range missile launchers. So they're getting ready for a parade on May the 9th. 8 attempts to gain unauthorized access to voting systems since the 2020 election, all involved Republican office holders or party activists who have advanced Trump's fraud, falsehoods of the conspiracy about rigged voting machines. Trump supporters convinced ballot machines were compromised are now taking the law into their own hands. They're still trying to overthrow things legally, and the patience is running thin. Moldova's deputy interior minister said the grenades that were used in the mysterious explosion in Transnistria are produced by Russia and only used by the armies of Russia, Transnistria, and Gabon. And I don't think the Gabonese did this. An Ohio Republican says women should see rape as an opportunity. Let's listen in. By the way, this is Mean Jean Schmidt. She was a House of Representatives member. Oh, ran past it. My bad. Hang with me here. There we go. All right, I'll try this one more time. Turned up.
Rape is a difficult issue, and it emotionally scars the individual, all or in part, for the rest of their life, just as child abuse does. But if a baby is created, it is a human life, and whether that mother ends that pregnancy or not, the scars will not go away, period. It is a shame that it happens, but there's an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is, to make a determination about what she's going to do to help that life be a productive human being. she can choose to raise the child.
Look at this woman right back here. None of these people are excited to hear what this woman is saying, because she's basically justifying rape and saying rape is if you get pregnant when you're raped, it's an opportunity. And it's like trying to Russia uses rape as a weapon. And it's like here in the United States, these Republicans, she's not the only one, we've shown others, but they're trying to make rape acceptable. Number of states have the same laws that she's pulling for here. It's a shame it happens, but there's an opportunity for women, no matter how young or old. For those that want to know, my opinion is I'm not a doctor and I'm not a woman, and those decisions should be made between a woman and a doctor. Healthcare decisions should be, and the government should STFO. Earlier today, I got a notification that Ben Gurion Airport in Israel had gone under lockdown, and there was a major panic. And actually, I had video of people in major panic, protecting babies and hiding behind pillars and desks and anything they could use as a shield. And nobody was sure what was going on initially, other than a bomb threat. And here's the bomb. It is indeed a very legitimate and very deadly bomb. It is a mortar shell, artillery shell, and an American family who was visiting the Golan Heights decided to bring back a souvenir. Okay, this is our don't be a doofus moment of the week. If you see unexploded ordnance, do not try to take it home as a souvenir. Your tip of the day. And again, it's not like, they found an ancient whatever. This is our reminder that no matter what happens militarily, we've got things like this. And it's also a little bit of a teaching method in that it really demonstrates how aerodynamics works. You can see how the air moves around the wings of the plane, and it's pretty cool. This is the B-1 bomber taking off, by the way. So again, our little, that's just a reminder that the United States has toys too. Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene texts Meadows about martial law, and this is obviously on Fox News. Okay. First of all, this is Marshall. All right. Marshall is the fire dog in the Paw Patrol. granddaughter's favorite cartoon of all time. That's martial. This is martial law, M-A-R-T-I-A-L. Martial law is the imposition of direct military control over normal civil functions or suspension of civil law by a government, especially in response to an emergency where civil forces are overwhelmed or in an occupied territory, which is what they were trying to do. Now, I bring those up not to make fun, because that's the number one thing going on right now is, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know, Fox doesn't know how to spell it either. Ha, 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 ha. No, I'm not doing it for that. I point out the differences because when she comes to trial over it, this is going to be her defense. You know, I didn't know what it meant. I had just heard the term before, and I knew you did it. I knew you used it, you know, and I don't know what it means. And I just, you know, Marshall, I just heard Marshall, you know, I didn't even spell it right. Okay. And so it's not so funny to me, but that's why Fox News is doing this. It's not because they don't know how to spell it. All right. Just so everybody's clear. You may say that, oh, that's, yeah, okay. Yeah, it would be a weak defense, but it's what they're going to be using. And by the time that comes around, there may, you know, they may have already occupied again, because that is coming. And we'll get into that tomorrow. Cliff J. Maloney Jr., right-wing darling with ties to high-profile Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, is accused of drugging and assaulting a college student while attending the University of Pittsburgh, according to a court filing. Republican Brian Kemp of Georgia has signed several education bills into law, including one banning the instruction of divisive concepts pertaining to race in classroom. In other words, you can't teach Black history in Georgia. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she is introducing a bill into the House of Representatives that would force Twitter to unban her from Twitter. Quote, it's important for me to have my personal Twitter account, end quote. Folks, all of you know that this is not what Congress is about. This is not what Congress is supposed to do. This is not what responsible lawmakers are about. It's become a circus, and not in a good way, in a freak show kind of way, where everything's evil. The dark side is strong in this one. So yeah, there are, you know, there are a lot of questions about how algorithms are used, and we might have to get into that sometime with somebody who can break it down for us in a way that we can all understand. Luis Enrique Colon, 45-year-old Blue Springs, Missouri, and a Proud Boy, will cooperate with prosecutors. He pled guilty to felony charges. Now, in a situation like this, when you plead guilty to felony charges, they have a pretty good package over your head, so to speak, as far as if you don't cooperate, if you cooperate and don't provide anything of any value, if you cooperate, don't provide anything of value, or don't lead us to higher ups, then we amend the plea deal and you actually serve the time. That's how it works. For those that don't know, when you get into this situation, it's either you better produce or you're going to go ahead and do the time, plus time's going to be harder because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And that's just I'm not saying right or wrong. That's up to you all to decide on your own individual accords. I'm just saying that's how it works. And here we go, some more sexual predatory Republican activities. And again, this is Associated Press. This isn't like I'm, trying to find something somewhere. This stuff pops up constantly. And it doesn't seem that it impacts anybody. For the Christian right, moral, conservative family value party, they got an awful lot of liars and thieves and sexual perverts in there. And somebody told me, oh, you're going way down the rabbit hole here with all this child pornography and all this sex stuff being tied to QAnon, being tied to Republicans. And no, there is no rabbit hole. It's almost out in plain sight and just nobody cares. Woman who says she was raped by an Idaho lawmaker while serving as a legislative intern left the witness stand during the trial Wednesday. The visibly distressed woman said she couldn't continue with the testimony. And that's your boy right there. Let's just make sure we get his name out here. Here he is right here, Representative Aaron von Ellinger. Aaron von Ellinger, hi. I am Aaron von Ellinger. Yeah, they're not the party of Nazis or anything. And this is entertainment. That was a joke. Minneapolis Police Department shows, quote, significant racial disparities, end quote, and runs surveillance on Black people and Black organizations, quote, unrelated to criminal activity, end quote. A major report has found. Now, this is Sky News. You're not going to hear this in the United States. Had to go to Australia to pick this one up. This is a disturbing read. I want to show it to you real quick. We're not going to read the whole thing. But I just want to show you that when I play the clips, that everybody loves them, the clips of what Russia TV is saying. And I don't say it often enough. I should say it every single time. Keep in mind that they are not putting, none of this stuff they're putting out is live. So anything that comes out has been approved by the people in charge. All right. So when they start telling their people to get prepared to die because of nuclear strikes, that stuff's not supposed to get out to us. It's not meant to scare us. They're prepping their people, saying, don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. We're going to go to heaven, and all the rest of them are just going to die. So don't worry about it. It'll quickly be over for us. And they're being just as misleading to innocent souls as many of the pastors are here in the United States. I want to come down here. Here we go. Russia's military believes that limiting the war's initial goal was a serious error. They now argue that Russia is not fighting against Ukraine, but NATO. And remember, we played that just the other night. Senior officers have therefore concluded that the Western Alliance is fighting all out through the supply of increasingly sophisticated weaponry, while its own forces operate under peacetime constraints, like a bar on airstrikes against some key areas of Ukraine's infrastructure. In short, the military now demands all-out war, including mobilization. That means conscripting. Anybody of military age, you're now a Russian soldier, male, because women aren't strong enough or capable enough in the Russian fascist mindset, just like in the Republican fascist mindset, women should look at getting raped as an opportunity. Just saying, repeating what Republicans are saying. So, and this is from journalists, actually, just so you have context. Russia's army is deeply unhappy at the new and curtailed strategy Putin has ordered them to adopt in Ukraine, abandoning the big goal of capturing Kyiv for a much more modest objective of invading Donbass. They are pointing the finger at other agencies. The war in Ukraine sharply divided Russian society. As journalists, we expected to lose many of our contacts in the Russian military and secret services after the invasion began. After it's one thing to complain to a journalist about corruption, and it's quite another to speak about the war when those who have taken a public anti-war stand. Indeed, the first month of the war, some sources refused to answer our calls and messages. But the situation has drastically changed. Last week, we began to receive more and more calls and messages from our contacts in the military and in the FSB, which is like our secret service, commenting our reporting about Sergei Besizda, one of the heads of the Fifth Service of the FSB, who gathers political intelligence. The general was sent to the infamous Lvov prison in Moscow, which had had a horrible reputation going all the way back to Stalin, with innumerable victims having been murdered in buildings and basements, the building's basement. So they're now getting word from inside Russia that we have been getting from spies. And here's one of the Ukrainian women that is actually fighting, and an idea of the equipment they're using. I think she's Finnish. A large column of Romanian troops heading to the Ukraine border. Not sure why. This is probably why I don't do TikTok videos, because this is what you have to do to be popular, I guess. And I mean, it's amazing, but there's just so much that could go wrong. We've talked about weaponizing food. Russia it is planned to replenish the fund of the Russian agricultural products at the expense of supplies from Ukraine. Basically, they are ordering any food that they find in Ukraine be shipped back to Russia. And they're going to try to limit harvesting. And no, we haven't forgot about Jerusalem. We haven't forgot about the Holy Land. This was last night, 2.5 or 250,000, my fault. 250,000 people gathered at Al-Aqsa Mosque for a nighttime service that they haven't been able to hold in 3 years due to pandemic restrictions and then political situations. Yeah. Impressive. They were so lined up and apparently organized. This is our religious section here, going from the peaceful prayers of those in the Islamic faith. Last night, the episode, we talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene calling Christians Satan. And somebody said, without video, it didn't happen. That video didn't happen. Well, guess what?
What it is that Satan's controlling the church. The church is not doing its job, and it's not adhering to the teachings of Christ, and it's not adhering to what the Word of God says we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to live. And what they're doing by saying, oh, we have to love these people and take care of these migrants and love one another. This is loving one another. Yes, we are supposed to love one another, but their definition of what love one another means destroying our laws. It means
I'm removing you right now. You've been in my bookmark for too long. It was an inside job. Capitol Building closed circuit TV feeds showed Representative Louis Gohmert, Representative Jim Jordan, Representative and child molester Matt Gaetz, accused, alleged, Representative Lauren Boebert, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. All these names they're everywhere, and they're all together all the time. Why aren't they in jail? If it was us, we'd be in jail. You know why they're not in jail? Because nobody's putting any pressure on. If these were Democrats doing this BS, there would be Republican outrage on at every courthouse, at every state house, at the Capitol, demanding these people be put in jail. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we at least bombarding newspapers and magazines and media and the government with emails and phone calls demanding these people be put in jail until they're tried? Why? Because the Democrats out there in Washington, D.C. are afraid it will happen to them when the Republicans get, well, it's going to, only they're going to kill you. All right, they're not going to try you, they're going to kill you when they get back in power, if they do. And if you don't stop it, it's going to come down to the worst possible situation imaginable in the United States, us fighting each other. And there are too many people ready to do that. So I played this last night. I want to end with it or play it again here at the end. because again, these people get their talking points, just like Tucker Carlson, Fox News, and Hannity and everybody else that wears Trump's butt like a hat, get their talking points from him. They get their talking points from Putin. So this stuff would not be going out if it wasn't okayed from the top down. And again, this is for their people and not for us.
Нам объявили войну, чего нам ждать далее? Нам сначала придется провести спецоперацию по демилитаризации Североатлантического альянса. Это, как кажется, совсем будет непросто.
Это вот эти 40 представителей разных стран, это такой сегодня коллективный Гитлер. Вы абсолютно были правы, когда сказали, что де-факто, по сути, мы находимся в состоянии Третьей мировой войны.
Россия принципиальным образом несет три вещи мировому порядку. Первое – это справедливость. Второе – это мир. И третье – это безопасность. А вот эти все коллеги пытаются развязать большую войну. Они ее уже фактически развязали.
Или мы проигрываем на Украине, или начинается Третья мировая. Лично я считаю наиболее реалистичным путь.
Okay. They know they can't win in Ukraine. All right. They wouldn't be saying, you know, either we lose in Ukraine or we go big. They wouldn't be saying that if they didn't know they're losing and they are not going to win. They're not going to win. And that's bad news for Republicans here that are tied to them. It should be anyway. Somebody will hold them accountable. We can only hope. Well,
Нам сначала придется провести спецоперацию по демилитаризации Севера.
What happened there?
Мир. И третье – это безопасность. А вот эти все коллеги пытаются развязать большую войну. Они ее уже фактически развязали.
Или мы проигрываем на Украине, или начинается Третья мировая.
Either we lose in Ukraine or we start the third world.
Более реалистичным путь
I
Третьей
think World
мировой.
War III is more
Потому что, зная нас,
realistic, knowing
зная
our
нашего руководителя Путина Владимира Владимировича, вот самое невероятное, что в конце концов все это закончится ядерным ударом, мне представляется все же более вероятным, чем вот такое развитие событий. К ужасу моему, с одной стороны, с другой стороны, к пониманию, что, ну что, значит так. Значит, меня...
Ну, мы-то в рае.
Да, меня...
А они просто...
Don't underestimate the unthinkable. Don't fixate on it. And if something does happen, what do we say? Don't panic. Be prepared. Be not afraid. Speaking of be not afraid, I did a series 3 where we just read the book of Revelation of Jesus Christ giving to John of Patmos on the island of Patmos. And there are a lot of other things in the Bible about the end times, the end of days, in the words of Jesus. And this coming Sunday, there will be a 4th edition of that, you know, church thing. And it's not church. Okay. There's no hymns are being sung, no collections are being taken. It's just sharing God's word through Jesus Christ. And we'll be doing that this Sunday with the words about the end times, because I had some people question, you know, you kind of simplified it, didn't you? No, it's really a simple book. You know, it's a simple book. But people get fixated on the wrong things. Anyway, we talked about this last night, in case you missed it. If a candidate is accused of blank, is it a major problem? If a candidate is accused of sexual conduct, is it a major problem? 66% with Republicans that it is a major problem. So you see where they're going with Madison Cawthorn and how they're portraying him. Domestic violence, 67, 74, 81. It's a problem for 38% of Republicans if a candidate is accused of racist remarks. Okay, so that means that 62% of them don't care, as well as 41% of independents. Homophobic remarks, 75% of Republicans don't care, and half of independents. Now, if Republicans get in charge and it's an authoritarian takeover and there aren't any more elections, who do you think the targets are going to be? It's listed numerically. It's listed numerically. I want to share this one more time if I can here. It was an inside job and it almost succeeded.
We have a building. Right here. No! There was one. There's nobody else inside. We just extracted. This is the cops. The building's yours.
See, he didn't say the building's ours. He didn't say the building's ours. He wasn't part of that group. He said the building's yours. Up here at the top, there's what the main guy's saying. The person that responds, whoever it may be, is saying, "What do you mean the building's ours?"
We have a building. Right here. No! There was one. There's nobody else inside. We just extracted. This is the cops. The building's yours.
We just extracted. Okay, he was part of the cops. We just extracted. The building's yours. Whoever's on that tape, whoever that voice is, my friends with computers, let's find out. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Be on live. You'll be able to join, and I hope you do. Until next time, I love you all. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Peace. It's a dark world. Be a light.